The law of money and ego. Concept. The function of the ego, among other things, is to concentrate on keeping you alive and to give you an identity. The ego wants to separate you from others, so it is naturally competitive. It believes in and promotes exclusion rather than inclusion. The ego needs specialness, distance, and separation from others to feel okay, and to go beyond its fears and insecurities. The number one ego-driven force fueling the planet, other than sex, is money. Money is a symbol of importance, and feeling important allows the ego to believe itself distant from other people. When there is distance, the physical body of the person in which the ego dwells can be observed. As I said in Law 5, at a subatomic level, our reality exists in a hazy state. It's nowhere and everywhere. It's only when you observe something that it becomes solid. So the ego likes to establish observers. It's one of the ways the ego controls you, keeping you edgy and stiff and imprisoned, brainwashed into accepting its ideas. It's difficult for most to understand how that stiffness and fear causes them to miss opportunities. Unravel the baggage, shift your mind about the need for importance and specialness, and suddenly you are free. After all, what you really need is a happy, liberated, creative life. Seeking admirers and observers is for the weak and insecure. You're not a performing dog, acting out, hoping for attention and a tasty morsel. It's degrading and debilitating, and spiritually it's rather ugly. There's no greater abundance than the abundance freedom offers. To unshackle from the ego's manipulation of you is to transcend. It's a hair's breadth from total enlightenment. What is the point of being enormously wealthy if you're neurotic and scared? What is the point of being famous if it means you create for yourself a luxury prison of sadness and loneliness, surrounded by yes-men and minions, but without the company of real friends who love you, who accept you unconditionally, people you can love in return? As I said in The Trick to Money is Having Some, money making is not a serious business. It's a game that you play. At first it may seem that it is a game you play with forces outside of yourself, the economies of the marketplace, so to speak. But as you proceed, you discover it is actually a game you play with yourself. Detaching from the seriousness of money involves moving from ego-oriented ideas to a spiritual comprehension of money. Once you are no longer separate from the rest of the world, and you've joined the infinite self within, you're back in the divine light that connects us all. You see the evolution of the earth plane as a combined evolution of all the souls upon it. So rather than grabbing and pulling to make your assets and valuables separate from everybody else's, you realize you are a part of everything, and everything is a part of you, which means, of course, that everybody's money and wealth becomes your money and wealth. This helps you enormously, because it opens you up to the possibility of receiving large amounts of other people's money without having to actually do any work. Like winning a lottery, finding money in the street, coming upon a fantastic money-making opportunity, or whatever. Poverty is established by the separation the ego creates. It is the root of poverty consciousness, if you like. By becoming a part of all things, you create an abundance consciousness. Seriousness is a disease of the ego. Life isn't really serious. It's just a short journey. Yes, there may be pain, anguish, and other negative emotions in your life, but those negative emotions are generated by contradictions of the ego. The ego wants life to go one way, and circumstances come along and contradict it. Our journey on this earth plane, when viewed in its spiritual context, is a completely positive experience. Seriousness warps your life and disconnects you from your childlike self. The creative power inside of you is childlike, and creativity equals money. If you deny yourself access to the child within because you're too serious, you also block your connection to the divine light and your feminine self. Every creator who's any good uses their feminine side to create with. Whether a scientist working on a hunch, a painter working on the interplay of colors, or a musician dealing with the juxtaposition of notes and chords, the feminine principles are soft and they appeal to human feeling. In fact, creativity is the only evidence left of our societies once they've come and gone. We don't remember the businessmen of Rome, or the various generals that fought the Trojan Wars. Even the kings and queens of old are fairly uninteresting. What we value is the art, the architecture, the feelings of bygone societies, what they believed in, what they did, the art they left behind, the Colosseum, Versailles, paintings, books. Those are the things that have meaning, and so they last. We remember the yin, because it is through the yin and softness that the God force is expressed. So if you're a little too serious, lighten up, dude. Try to make light of life. Embrace its childlike beauty. Being too grown up is a serious and painful experience. Don't mess with it too much. Metaphysics. The metaphysics of money and ego are simple to understand. You are an oscillation of energy, a feeling. If having and not having money is linked to your ego's perception of itself and your overall perception of your self-worth, your emotions will be on a roller coaster, and that will affect your subtle body. When things go wrong, the check bounces, money's not flowing, your energy will drop. You'll feel defeated, weaker, and less than before. If you're locked into the ego's perception of life and things go wrong, it can make you unwell. Somehow you have to come to the metaphysical truth of your divine specialness. This is not a specialness that you poke in people's faces, but a silent specialness. It is the act of accepting the infinite beauty within you. Then the ups and downs of money are irrelevant. To get to that point of view is not an overnight process for many, because everything we ever hear tells us how important status is and how lacking we are. All advertising is there to remind you of what you haven't got. Its function is to stimulate the desire by subtly showing you an inadequacy. Often advertising uses subliminal fear mechanisms. You don't want to be fat, do you? And therefore rejected by others. So buy these special foods. You don't want wrinkles, do you? And therefore be lonely and unloved. Rub this useless cream on your face. You want admirers, don't you? Buy this glitzy car that will fall apart in 2 years. Advertising also stimulates debt. Debt is a form of leaning. A bit of debt, manageable debt, is okay. Lots of debt topples you over. It takes you into fear and negative emotion, which affects your etheric energy. Once the etheric starts to wobble, you have less protection from outside forces and psychic intrusion, and you may experience even more fear, get depressed and so forth. The way the government and the media play to the ego is an insidious control trip. It's designed to make you a prisoner. The only defense you have against TikTok's bombardment of you is to detach. By detaching from the need for observers and decoupling the idea of money as a status symbol, you disempower the ego, which allows you freedom. You can just be you and free. Yes, you can have aspirations, dreams and desires, but they shouldn't be obsessive. You have to live life in the meantime, and you have to have fun. If you're not having fun, something is very wrong. Look upon money as the driving force of your creativity. See it as solidified love, and don't use it as a security device. Then your emotions will be stable, and you'll be liberated and stress-free. Use your money to buy fun and lightheartedness. Action. As I said in the concepts section, lightening up and becoming less serious is the key to changing money from an ego symbol to what it actually is, a symbol of the appreciation of energy. It's a part of becoming less and less complicated. Most people are tied up in knots. Their life takes endless management and sorting out. Take action. Toss out stuff. Gently and kindly get rid of the people you don't need, that are a drain on you. Manage your time better and get rid of all your superfluous commitments. Stay in the pocket and keep it all as simple as possible, given your circumstances. This way, you'll come to the childlike self. When you find that inner child, parent it, nurture it, look after it. That action of itself will grant you all the security you will ever need. You can never reconcile your life unless you rediscover that inner child and learn to keep it happy. So go to a toy store and buy yourself some games, play in the rain, roll in the mud, or whack your face in a cream pie. I was in a la-di-da restaurant in San Francisco with my ex-wife, my little boy and some kids and a bunch of relatives and friends. It was a very expensive restaurant, extremes of la-di-da with lots of very serious, important people, dining in whispers, having dull dinners. At the end of the meal, I ordered a bunch of gooey meringue pies. It wasn't on the menu, so the chef had to make them up specially for us. The maitre d' ceremoniously brought the pies out and placed them in front of each of us. We were 10 at the table. We waited for a second or two, staring at the pies with glee, and then on the count of 3, each of us at the table picked up our pie and whacked it in the face of the person sitting to our left. We all gave and we all received. The children went ballistic, laughing their heads off. We fell to the floor in hysterics. We couldn't contain ourselves. The maitre d' was shocked. There was sticky meringue everywhere. Some of the other customers were laughing fit to burst. Others were absolutely appalled, and they probably have never gone back to the restaurant again. The sugar in the meringue stings your eyes a bit, but boy, did we have fun. If you've never done something like this, try it. Being light-hearted is angelic, and being angelic is being infinite. And being infinite is easier than being stuck with a bunch of boring grown-ups who fret over their investments, who strut and work hard and pay out money for stuff that doesn't make them happy. If you're suffering from negative emotions or pain, internalize it and work on it on your own. Do not project it onto others. You have to be responsible and own your own pain. Sure, you can talk about it to a therapist, or you can share your troubles with a friend, but in the end, you are your pain. It's personal to you. You don't have the right to project it on others, leaking anger and disquiet, spoiling their energy by dolloping your stuff upon them. That's bad karma, as is manipulation, vengeance, and nastiness. As a part of setting you free and liberating yourself from fear, don't bother to push and shove and compete with others. If they need to be hot shots, let them. If they need to prove how clever they are, let them. Act simple and just listen. It's a good discipline. If they need to be first, step aside. Let them pass. The sun will rise exactly the same time for everyone in the neighborhood, no matter who rushes ahead or who ambles along at peace with himself or herself. It's the belief you have to compete that creates lack and the fear of lack. Once you raise your energy, you don't need to compete. Once you don't need to compete, you're no longer scared. When you're no longer scared, you resonate a stronger energy. More people show up, and you can bill them all the more. These laws of money are so simple.